Alright guys, so Fulu coming to you with another video. Second day like of Ramadan. Uh ooh, it's pretty tough to say the least, but we're getting through it, under any all the conditions involved. But, I'm trying to watch my speech. Uh, since Ramadan is deeper than just not having food and drink. It's way deeper than that. So many different layers actually. But anyhow, what I want to say is that I've been like listening to some Bivol interviews that he's been doing about facing Canelo. And the thing is about him is he seems pretty like just level-headed about it. Uh, he's not buying into the hype. You know, uh, the one thing I noticed about Canelo opponents is this: they either have too much respect for him, or they uh, they don't have enough respect for him. You know what I mean? Like meaning, like for example, like they'll like Caleb Plant. Like that was good what he did to hype up the fight. He did a good job hyping it up, like saying what he was like gonna do and things like that. But the problem is he didn't have the power to back up the hype. You know, um, one thing I will say is that like I think that because when you really think about it, Canelo's not really fought a power puncher like that. Um, he fought Triple G, who I guess you could say is a big puncher, but he hasn't really fought anybody like who punches really big, like a super big puncher. Um, Now Dimitri Bivol, um, I think we haven't seen the best of Dimitri Bivol. I think he gets bad raps for coasting um, in fights because I think he's just trying to get rounds in more than anything else. Like, cause he can end fights, that's not a question. He can end them, but I think he's comfortable in getting rounds in. I think he's comfortable in coasting, but I think that this fight we may see a different engine in him. Like we may see him like do some different things that we haven't seen him before. And he seems like I like his demeanor, how he's going into the fight. He seems really calm, he seems really cool, and he seems really collected. You know what I mean? Uh I don't think he's like just buying into the hype that, oh shoot, I got a Canelo fight. Oh shoot, I'm here. I don't think he's buying into that like the previous fighters did. Like the the Rocky Fieldings, the Avery Yildirim's, the Billy Joe Saunders, the Calvin Smith. You know what I mean? He didn't buy into the hype. You know. Now, there was an interesting article. Yeah, I think I'll read a little bit of it because it's like a big what if. If you know this channel, you know I've been rocking with Bivol for quite a long time. I like his boxing style. I think he is skillful. I think he has a different type of style, but I think he just has composure about himself and also just this ice in the veins, stone cold face that shows that when he's in there, he means business. And another thing about his face is when there is a flurry of punches or something, he doesn't seem to change facial expressions at all. That's the thing about him that I find amazing. But anyhow, um, the article says actually that uh, in this, I don't know who this writer is, but I mess with this writer because he basically said the same thing about like Canelo that I've been saying all along, and especially about how he's been ducking Demetrius Andre for quite some time. Now, this writer, I think he's just tired of Canelo's answers as well at this point. But here's what he said, and it's very interesting. So he said it may be Canelo will be trying to duplicate his past success at 175 when he suits up to light heavyweight next month to relieve unbeaten Dimitri Bivols of his WBA title on May 7th at the T-Mobile Arena. It may be unthinkable to Canelo's diehard fans and ultra-hardcore boxing fans, but Bivols could pull off the upset by beating the famous Mexican star. A loss for Canelo against Bivol would immediately remove the possibility of him taking on Gennady Golovkin in a lucrative trilogy match on September 17th. I don't want to see that fight, to be honest. That would be a significant hit for Canelo, Triple G, and the Zone, but things happen. After all, boxing is a sport, and you can't always win, even if your name is Canelo. A defeat at the hands of Bivol will leave Canelo with the decision of whether to try to avenge that defeat or walk away and fight other guys, as we saw his loss to Floyd Mayweather Jr. Well, I mean, with all due respect, the fight was so one-sided, Floyd giving him a rematch wouldn't really make sense, you know. Assuming that Bivol makes a monkey out of Canelo by schooling him from A to B on May 7th, it's plausible that he and his manager, Eddie Reynoso, will have to move on rather than daring to try to avenge that loss. In a war, it's sometimes better to move on when your side is getting battered on the battlefield. Predictably, Canelo will choose not to fight Bivol in a rematch and move on rather than putting his career on the line in a second fight. The problem with Canelo taking a rematch with Bivol is that if he loses the second fight to the Russian, it's game over. Canelo's popularity will evaporate overnight, making it impossible to sell his fights on pay-per-view and bring new subscribers to Zone. Now, as for the popularity, I don't know. I don't think his popularity will leave, because he has the whole country behind him, and despite that country having, like, maybe I want to say 75% racist fans of boxing, I don't think they would leave him overnight. You know what I mean? I don't think so, because even when Lomachenko took the Teofimo Lopez and Orlando Toledo loss, he still has his core fan base, So it says moving back down to 168 will lead to intense pressure for Canelo to finally face David Benavidez. And by the way, word is on the streets, Dimitri Bivol was giving David Benavidez that working squad, Fans believe the Mexican star has been ducking for years. They're talking about David Benavidez. If Canelo moves back down to 168, he will look weak if he chooses to defend his undisputed title against beatable British fighter Jonathan Ryder rather than Benavidez. The difference in talent between Benavidez and the light-hitting Ryder is like night and day. You'd like to think that Canelo will show courage by letting him fight Benavidez, but why would you break from what has been norm for him to be around the young killer? I agree with that. Now, the writer says something interesting, and Bivol's energy says something. The writer is predicting that Bivol will wreck Canelo and make an example of what happens to a fighter who attempts to overreach his physical boundaries. Yo, I would love to see it. I would love to see it. I would definitely love to see it. I would definitely love to see it. There's nothing wrong with Canelo being ambitious, but he has overjudged what he's capable of. Some will argue that Canelo's recent wins over the weak group of champions at 168 have fueled his ego, giving him a false perception of what he can do. Also, his fans are giving him a false perception of what he can do. As I said before, if you know how to box and you have a little bit of pop in your punches and you got good footwork, then Canelo is custom made for you, because all he's gonna do is come forward, slip a couple of shots, and try to hit you with big stuff to the body until you eventually subside, and then he can get off what he wants to get off. Other than that, he ain't doing nothing else. But anyhow, Bivol may win and give Canelo a one-sided beating, as he did against Sullivan Barrera, Joe Smith Jr., and Jean Pascal. Canelo and his trainer-manager Eddie Reynoso have likely fully vetted Bivol and deemed him a non-threat, but they could be wrong. Canelo is going up in weight to 175, a division where he looks sluggish in his fight against shot to pieces 36-year-old fossil Sergey Kovalev. You have to understand that Sergey Kovalev almost got stopped by Anthony Yarde. I think he only had a 4-week fight camp to fight Canelo. If Kovalev were even half the fighter he once was, he would have embarrassed Canelo because he looked too small for the weight class. I don't like Timothy Bradley, but Timothy Bradley said Canelo picked the hardest fight. He's tough, he's durable, and he can take a punch. I don't know if he can take a Canelo's punch, but he can take a punch. Said Bradley about, okay, now he's talking about Arthur Beterbiev. Never mind. So Timothy Bradley said, Canelo will age Beterbiev out. What he was planning to do. Yeah. So there you have it. I think Dimitri Bivol, he can do it. I believe so. I said Caleb Plant. I didn't say that like Caleb Plant would win. I didn't say he would win, but I kind of predicted him outboxing Canelo and then getting caught with some stuff, and that's exactly what happened. Now, let me see. Okay, so it's interesting what was said. This writer really does not like Canelo, and I rock with it a lot. But Canelo hasn't been beaten since his loss to Floyd Mayweather in June in 2013. Although some would argue that he should have an additional 4 defeats in his resume. If Bivol can beat Canelo, it would be shocking but not entirely surprising. Canelo looked human against Erislandy Lara, Gennady Golovkin, Austin Trout, and Miguel Cotto. I will also add he looked very basic against Billy Joe Saunders. He looked very basic against Caleb Plant. Did not see any of that otherworldly defense that people talk about he has. For boxing, it would be bad if Bivol, because for boxing it would be bad if Bivol, because Canelo, okay, it's kind of a comma splice, but it says because it would get in the way of the trilogy of Gennady Golovkin. So, I like Bivol's energy. Bivol is like one of them silent hit man. Like he just flips the switch when he fights. When he's not fighting, he doesn't flip the switch. And he's very, very good. I'm glad he looks at Canelo as a human and not as this otherworldly being. I'm happy he does that. That's good. And I don't know. We have to wait and see what happens. But anyhow, Fuller signing out. With y'all.